Hello everybody, my name is Javier Fernandez and I will be showing the mobile installation for the Skillcourt app. So first you're going to want to have the Skillcourt dev organization of the GitHub. You're going to want to be invited to that and also go into the Skillcourt app repository. You're going to hit that green button that says code, and I open it with the GitHub desktop just to make it easier for myself. I'm going to go ahead and clone it. I had already cloned it before. I deleted it for the purpose of this video, so I'm going to go ahead and clone it again. Get that into my local machine. Now I'm going to go to Android Studio, as that is my preferred emulator that I'll be running, and I will open this project in Android Studio. And next is to open a Windows PowerShell as an administrator. We're going to go ahead and create a symlink between two files. So go ahead and run that as administrator. And we're going to want to direct into our repository. So we're going to go backwards to our C drive, then change directory to our Skillcourt application repository. Misspelled the word, let me fix that. Alright. Then we're going to want to put in this code. You don't want to do it in a regular terminal, you want to do it in administrator or it will give an error, as you see on my screen there. I tried beforehand. And then we have boom created the repository, the file folder. So if you go ahead and go to the file folder, just for proof, I go to my where it is in my local, and boom, we have created the hooks folder. The next step is to run flutter pub get to get all the latest dependencies to be able to use this application. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Flutter pub get, pull all dependencies. We'll be right back. So it'll take about 26 seconds like ours did, and then after we will run another line of code with Flutter to be able to build the actual application. I'm going to go ahead and get that from another screen. Outputs. And then this will also take a while, so I will be right back for the next step. Now it should take around a minute 30 seconds to be able to complete this step, but after it is done, you are ready to open up an emulator of your choice. I'm using a Pixel 30 Android app. I'll go ahead and yes. So just run that and wait for it to load up. Okay, I see it's loading up now. So after the emulator loads up, the last step is just to actually run the main file on this emulator to be able to get the application running. So that's Pixel starting. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a second to start up. And I'm gonna hit that green button, run main.dart. This will initialize the application. And we'll be back once it actually loads up. So depending on your processing power, this does take a while. It took me about 5 minutes to run, but eventually the Skillcourt app does load up. And there you have it. The mobile application installation video. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so welcome to the installation instructions for the Skillcourt website on Windows. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to open up a PowerShell window as an administrator, and you're going to install WSL by running wsl.exe --install-d space Ubuntu. I'm not going to run it since I already have it installed. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is set the default version of WSL to 2, and you're going to do that by running this command here. And then the operation completed successfully, so you're going to finish with this PowerShell for now. So then you can head on over to the installation of Docker Desktop, and you're going to want to download the Windows version. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to go through the whole installation because it's a long installation, but you want to make sure to read over everything and make sure you have everything correct and that everything that you read makes sense. And you also want to make sure that when it comes up to use WSL, you want to make sure to check that you use WSL. And then once that installation finishes, it's going to prompt you to restart your computer. So you're going to restart your computer and come back to the video. After installing Docker Desktop and going through the whole installation and restarting your computer, the next thing that you need to do is install Ubuntu, and you're going to do that by following this link, and then it's going to ask you to get in the Store app, open Microsoft Store, and then it's going to open something similar to this where you're going to install it, and then from there you're going to go do the whole installation, and it's going to open up something similar to this, but except for having this, you're going to have to go to the setup, and you're going to set it up as you should see, and you're going to have to set a sudo password as well, which is very important, and you're eventually going to get to this terminal here. After you get the Ubuntu terminal completely set up and Ubuntu installed, you're going to want to go into Docker Desktop. You're going to want to go to Settings and then Resources, and under Resources you're going to see WSL Integration, and then you're going to want to make sure that you have this checked, Enable Integration with my default WSL distro, and then you want to make sure that Ubuntu is checked on. If you don't see Ubuntu, you might want to refresh it to see if it shows up, but you want to make sure that Ubuntu is on and this is also on. After changing those settings, you're going to go back to the Ubuntu terminal and you're going to start downloading some things. You're going to first install Node.js with the sudo apt install Node.js. You're going to have to use your sudo password that you set up a minute ago, so make sure you don't forget that. And then after running that, we're going to install pnpm using this command here. And this is going to take a minute, so make sure you give it a minute to install. And then after you install that, you're going to want to clone the GitHub repo. After you install those two packages, you're going to clone the GitHub repo using this command shown here. Sometimes it will ask you for an authentication password, and you have to go through the GitHub account and get a developer password, which you can look up a tutorial online. It's very simple, and you also have to have Git installed. After that, we should have a directory within our Ubuntu called SCIS website, so we're just going to go into there. And then as you see, we have all of the files from the GitHub. And the first thing that we're going to have to do is to copy the .m.example into the env file with this command. And that's simply just going to copy the contents of env.example to .env. The next step is to create the Docker Compose override file. And to do that, we're going to use this command, nano. We're going to enter that, and as you see, we get into this kind of GUI that's like a text editor. And we provided the text that needs to go in there, so I'm just going to copy and paste it really quick. After you paste all of this into the text editor, you're going to want to press Ctrl X and then Ctrl Y to save and exit. And then Y, save one. Okay, and then once that's saved, the next thing that you need to do is to run the Docker Compose up commands. The first command that you're going to run is sudo docker compose up -d, and then that's going to basically start up the containers, and you're going to need your sudo password for that. Sorry about that, I had a typo in the Docker Compose override, but the text has been updated in the instructions, and once you run sudo docker compose up, you can see that the two containers are up and running, and then the next command you're going to run after that is the prisma db push. After running that command, it should take a few seconds to generate the Prisma database. And then after that, you're going to run the final command, which is a Prisma DB seed. And you're going to run that command. And then once the seed command has been executed, you are done with the terminal. And you can go back to your Docker desktop. Let me cancel out of here. And you can see that all of the containers are running. And then to get a live look at the site, you can click here on these three dots, click open with browser, and it takes you to localhost 4200, which is the Skillcourt website. And to hack on this website, we found that the easiest way was to download the extension for Visual Code, which allows you to connect to an attached container here. So attached to a running container, and it gives you all the containers that are currently running. And we found that that was the easiest way. If you give it a second, that was the easiest way. Now here we can edit. It's pretty easy. You just save it and it automatically updates. And that's it. That's how you install the website, and that's how you start editing on it.